Welcome everybody to another week of the Week's End Tavern. Weren't here last week, but we're gonna make up for it this week. Little double header. Hando, it's been a little bit. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing pretty good, and I'm ready for a doubleheader. There is two of us, so that is two heads.
Two heads, yeah.
Yeah,
We
I've been
all our
I've been
bases
doing pretty
covered.
good. I'm ready. I'm ready for some news, though. I'm ready for some news. I feel
Yeah,
like last week there was a little bit of a drought,
there
which is odd.
was, but we
Which is odd.
waited, and now there's way more stuff.
Yeah, a
There's some
lot of
good
sod.
stuff.
A lot of sod.
Yeah, tons of sod stuff. What have you been up to in WoW though?
I've been slowly leveling the blood DK and seeing how overpowered that is. That is making me hate every other thing that I have. You know how that goes.
I love that.
Yeah. And then otherwise, I've just been, doing the grinds. Right. I have like 6 tunes now, so whenever I can, I'm doing those heroics to get the valor caps. Right, because it's like a lot of them are pretty fresh tunes, so it's like just gotta get all the way up there. We got a few new heroics under our belt as a guild, so that's been pretty fun. Other than that, I've been watching you.
Been watching you.
Yeah, I've been watching your streams.
Are you RPing Sting?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Every step I take.
That's right.
Hando's watching me. Every breath I
That's
take.
right. That's right. And now, and then I've got this new background going on here. So, what about you?
Yeah. So I've just been raiding, all these different characters. I think this was the first week my Prot Pally raid got 13 out of 13 heroic, so that was pretty cool. Finally got to do Neff heroic ads. Check that out. We got it done pretty quick. We should have actually one-shot it, but I messed up. And like some of my audio timers were like for the wrong abilities, so I was like going off the wrong timer. It was kind of a mess, but we got it down after a few bowls, so I got it pretty easy, 13 out of 13 on it now. And that's fourth for me. Three blood DKs, 1 prop value so far. We're working on the Prot Warrior next. And been doing this challenge on my Feral Druid, leveling it, starting at 1, going to 85. As people like sub and donate and stuff, they can increase or decrease the size of things on my UI. So my UI is impeccable right now. Half my screen is details. My nameplates take up like they cover like half the screen. Well, they go down like half the screen. They're like really tall and thin. They look ridiculous. And yeah, it's been fun. I mainly been doing it to raise money for a new computer, which we hit the goal. New PC will be here soon. I will soon be rating with more than 15, well, 5 to 15 FPS and 25-man raids. So I'm very excited about that. I hopefully will no longer be able to count each individual frame I'm getting on things like Valiona and Thuralion. So that will be a huge improvement.
Well, that sounds like a huge week for you then.
It is gonna be a big week. It's gonna be a big week.
Is there an ETA? Is there a specific ETA on this new computer?
So the last part was supposed to get here today, but they said it got delivered and it's not here. So I think it might have gotten stolen. So we gotta figure that part out, and then as soon as we get that figured out, we're good to go.
Awesome.
But we're so close. So hopefully either later this week or start of next week. That's the goal.
Yeah, get it all together. No overheating USBs and such.
Oh
right?
god, yeah. I didn't even know USB ports could overheat.
Yeah, I didn't either. You've opened my eye.
This is the first time I've ever had to put my mouse in the freezer, so it's USB would like cool off, so then I could plug it back in and it would actually work again. It's been a weird experience with this computer.
Well, let's chalk it up to the other thing that you did this week. It's because you had so much success with your blood cake buds. You and Riani did some stuff this
Yeah.
week, also, right?
Yeah, we just did like kind of a little tank podcast. Uh we sort of did part 1 on this podcast like 2 weeks ago at this point, I guess. Um but Rihanna and I figured we would just sit down and just talk tank stuff the whole time, and not force you to be here for 4 hours listening to bloody kid talk. But yeah, it was super fun. Actually an insane amount of people have watched it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
um
mean, you guys are great content creators, so I think that alone is cause for the viewership, right? And then listening to your takes and your takes rather on tanking, I think is eye opening for a lot of people, especially some people in the DK Discord are you're ruffling some feathers over there. I should say that's
Hey,
a
I
good way to
mean,
put it.
I just happened to get a second fan Discord for free, it seems like. So
That's right.
I'll take what I can get.
That's right. Any publicity is good publicity, right? That's what they say.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, that was pretty awesome that you guys were able to do that and get it going like super quickly too. I thought it was something that you guys were going to do like down the line, but you guys like caked that up really quick.
Yeah, I don't know how often we'll do it. It'll probably just be a, once in a long while kind of thing. But yeah, just whenever it happens, and we'll be talking some tank stuff. But
Yeah, and just for the record and for our viewers, I don't dislike Tank Talk, nor do I dislike Riani or Subtle talking about it while I'm just waiting here. I actually enjoy it. I'm just another viewer, just like you guys. Sometimes, you know what I mean. So I love it when you guys are getting into the nitty gritty and getting into all the stats and the little things and stuff like that. My wife also plays the game, and this sort of stuff just puts her to sleep. So I'm glad that I'm able to talk to people about it, right, without having them, be like tired of listening to me because they're like, "This is boring stuff."
yeah, I mean, sometimes you need a little sleep aid content creator, and
That's right.
we can help with that. Um, let's do some listener questions. I think there was one like that came in late that I can add to it. But
Sure.
I mean they're pretty DK specific right now. But maybe you have some insights on your new DK, things you've seen. But first one's from Mecton. Can you do a list, or can you list AMS usages that remove debuffs on boss or trash and raids if there's specific mechanics that it's a must to use it? So kind of the big ones like wind chill on conclave, we've talked about that a bit, just to like drop your wind chill stacks. So either AMS the last wind chill before the ultimate's gonna get cast on Nazir, or AMS the wind chill after the ultimate. It's a little bit better to do it on the wind chill before the ultimate, because then your stacks drop off. The permafrost you take after the ultimate isn't amplified by wind chill. So a little bit better to do that, but it's a lot easier to time the one after, because you don't have to like look at wind chill timer versus like when special ability's been cast. So I aim for the wind chill before ultimate, but if you don't get that, just throw it at the end of the ultimate so you catch the one that happens after the ultimate. So you would want time that either like during the permafrost they cast after the ultimate, or uh slightly before it, like 0.1 seconds left on ultimate, something like that. In BOT, the trash leading up to Valion and Thuralion, they'll cast, I think it's called Stasis Strike, but it stuns you, and that can be AMS'd as well. So that's a really good one to AMS. It's a cleansable stun, so it's not a huge deal, but if you can just press AMS and not even get stunned, that's great. Other times I use it, I'm trying to think. As far as like immuning debuffs or like letting debuffs fall off, I mean like Alakir. Alakir is a good one. Use on Alakir for like acid rain. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
Is there ever a situation, because I haven't tanked the 25 mans yet, where like Nefarian does like a breath and a crackle at the same time that would be good to use? Or
Oh yeah, you use it for crackle like all the time for sure. Yeah, you can kind of look at the timer to see if maybe you want to use the AMS a little bit earlier or hold it a little bit later, in terms of the crackle timing versus the breath timing. But yeah, that's a great time to use it. And then Maloriak as well. Slod in chat reminded me. Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer use there because it'll take off the healing debuff. So not only do you take less damage from the breath, but you can be healed, which, you know, is the kind of primary thing that the breath does anyway.
well, here's a question: do you need to be healed if you have so many absorb shields? Well, I can't answer this question. I can't ask that one. Oh, the AMS one. I can't ask that new one. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
all about
yeah.
the
Merc
absorbs.
Merc had another good one. AMS on the green phase Maloriak knockback too. A lot of people aren't really doing green phase anymore, but if you are, yeah, pre-AMS on green phase is a good one.
It's actually pretty insane to see the like evolution of how much quicker like things are dying and stuff like that now that you've done the bosses so much. And then the uses of your cooldowns and stuff also, complement that, right? So especially as a tank, right? Like you get a feel for the fight, and then as soon as it gets like a minute faster, you're like, wait a second, this is totally different now.
Yeah. Yeah, it throws all your timings off. I remember in like ICC as we were getting the buffs like every 2 weeks, my timings kept changing for everything because I'd have like certain like wings timings and stuff, and then like week to week it's like, oh, now we killed the boss like too quick for like some specific like trinket proc plus wings combo to line up, things like that. And then I think that pretty much covers it for MS, but like I mean any like kind of magic ability, like just look for tons of times to use it because 45-second cooldown, last 7 seconds with AMS glyph. There are just so many times you can benefit from it. So
Yeah,
just
it's so good.
yeah, make sure you're pressing that a lot. And then Nab slash Sapich asked, is there any DK tech that's usable by dad guilds? So with AMS, we already like kind of talked about a bunch of them. But outside of that, I mean, there's like the Chimeron one a lot of people are doing now. Basically, you just have to have a blood shield that's at least 10k on you, and you can survive like double attack. It will just never kill you, like as long as you have a 10k blood shield on you. So that'd be kind of the big one, I guess. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main one, like off the top of my head. For something like Cho'Gall, something we've been doing is we have like the off tank taunt. Like before the first Fear of Cho'Gall happens, you don't actually have a timer for it, but just have them taunt like, I don't know, 40 seconds into the fight, something like that. Get the first Fear of Cho'Gall, and then they should be able to get every other one without it like interfering with them picking up ads. So that's one we've found pretty helpful and pretty easy to do. And then you can just have the blood decay tanking chokehold the entire fight, never getting more than one physical stack. And that's another one too. You can use AMS on AMS right before Fury of Chokehold, and you won't get the increased magic damage taken debuff. So at all times, blood decay is just gonna have 10% more physical damage taken. That's it on Chokehold. So that's pretty helpful. But I think that's kind of the only it's not even really specifically DK tech, but they are just the best main tanks, so it kind of is. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I was gonna say. Is just have blood tanks. That's the tech for
that
the
is
dead
kind of
guilds.
the tech. Is just like blood DKs. Yeah,
I will say this though. My most recent character is a Resto Druid, and the amount of players that don't use Death Strike in dungeons is absurd.
really.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like blood decay does a ton of damage, which is nice, right? Because it makes you cruise through the dungeon. Um, but sometimes I'm sweating out there in those heroics because they just are not pushing that button. That
That's
is
so weird.
makes them OP. But we were talking about it, I think, on the podcast with Riani, where, or maybe it was the one before that, but like even in ICC, there was someone that was mentioning that their guildie like just did not hit Death Strike at all in ICC.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that was Riani. I think somebody in his
yeah,
guild was doing that.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, at some points they feel like the worst tanks to heal if they're not doing that. But
Yeah, if they're not doing like
majority of
their
them,
main thing that they do. Yeah.
yeah, but majority of them are like just play the game on easy mode. It's pretty wild.
Mazdak asks, why is absorb counted in healing meters but block is not? It'd make it easy to see how much damage Prot Warrior / Pal are mitigating with their blocks. Same way as we can see how much absorb Bloody Can Bear do. Yeah, so I mean, they're just like different classifications. Like block is, damage reduction, absorb is a heal technically. It would be kind of cool though if Warcraft logs could turn blocked damage into heals just to make it like easier to compare. But yeah, just on like the game level, they're very different things. Though it would make it much easier for comparison.
Yeah, I know if you like delve deep enough into the logs, you can figure it out, right? But it's like
Yeah,
you really gotta
it's
put the
there.
extra work in.
It's there. You can figure it out, but like, yeah, if there was something Warcraft logs could do to just make it a lot more simple to compare them, would be pretty helpful.
So the simple answer is one is damage reduction, the other is like an absorb, like an actual absorb.
Yeah, absorbs are just like classified as heals, so
Yeah.
that's the main thing. Let's hop into the news then. That's it for the questions. Tons of SoD news. We got lots of info about Phase 4. This honestly had me like kind of wanting to play SoD. And I've been pretty off the SoD train for a while, but I really like a lot of the changes they're making. And they're definitely going very far away from vanilla at this point, but I also kind of realized through SoD that I really didn't like a lot of the vanilla aspects of WoW. So to me, this is like a much more appealing version of SoD, but I don't know if everybody's going to receive it as well. So the first thing was Phase 4 launches July 11th. 10 days. We're almost there. Getting close already. They had tons of info to share. I mean, obviously, you're going to be able to go to level 60. You'll be able to go to all the zones. There will be a 50% XP buff. And from the start, we've kind of talked about this before. It seemed a little weird before when they were kind of going more of, trying to toe the line between like vanilla and like, whatever SoD is.
Whatever this is.
Yeah. But now that I feel like they've fully embraced that this is like not vanilla like at all. It's just a totally different thing. So at this point, like it seems like the 50% XP right out the gate is fine. It's a much more like, modern leveling kind of experience.
Yeah, no
Not
one
as
wants
grindy, a
to.
little quicker.
Yeah, no one wants to grind out that like one level or two levels, right? To like save Eastern Plague Lands to do for last or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. I mean, I guess there is people that do want to. I shouldn't say no one. Um, but I don't know. Like even when you're doing like the rested XP guides and stuff like that, right? It's like, oh, grind for one level on the Raptors.
Yeah.
Like that feels like you know what I mean? That feels like poor game design.
Yeah. I mean, they just didn't have enough quests in the game, like at the
Yeah.
beginning. And then I think in TBC they ended up adding some new quest hubs, and then in Wrath I think they did again too. So it was one of those things that just wasn't finished in vanilla, and they slowly like added to it over time.
I
But
definitely think with how long a lot of the quests take you to get for the dungeons, they should have given more reward. Like, for example, when you play Alliance, the Van Cleef chain, like, takes
mhm,
quite a bit of time, to complete the whole
yeah,
thing. You should just get a big chunk because it's not like you can do that quest more than once, right? So it kind of
yeah,
makes sense to just like load a lot of the experience into those dungeons, and then it forces more people to play them, which potentially gets more groups going together, right?
yeah. That'd be a really easy way to make up for the quest XP gap. You don't even need to make more quests. Just make the current ones give more.
Yeah, I think they did that in Season of Mastery, and that helped a lot. I think it was like 50% more experience from quests, and then the like questing time just seemed like it was super quick. Like it was actually enjoyable.
Hmm. Yeah. They teased a lot of stuff though. There's a new mystery dungeon to discover, and then obviously all the dungeons you'd expect: Skullman, Strat, Darmal, BRS, all that stuff. And we found out a little bit about the Blackrock Eruption World event. So this is gonna be the next thing. Like we had Nightmare Incursions, which weren't super well received, and then we had like Blood Moon and the Ashen Veil one. So this is just kind of the event that's gonna be happening in Phase 4. But there's gonna be extra like spawns when this is happening in Searing Gorge, and they said eventually this would expand to Burning Steps also. So yeah, you can look for some daily quests, some more spawns, stuff like that when this happens. It'll be interesting to see, kind of how this plays out. I know a lot of people were really against daily quests in SoD, but this is another thing where it's like it feels like they're really just pushing this away from vanilla, making it a way more modern kind of thing, which I'm personally a fan of, but I know not everybody is.
Yeah, I think it's better for the casual player, which is what this was aimed for, right? So or aimed towards. I did see that it said there's also be environmental hazards within this event. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I mean, it's an eruption, right? So there's probably
Yeah,
like gonna be stuff falling from the sky that you gotta dodge, I would
that's
think.
right. Yeah, so I'm thinking this is the elemental invasion that we were missing in the Cata launch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're
That
bringing
that
it
that's
back
why
just for
that's why it
you.
wasn't
They're like,
in
they're,
Cata. They're saving it for SOD.
yeah, they're like, we got to get Subtle back in. We got to figure it out.
He's just been talking nonstop about this elemental invasion. This is our ticket
uh,
in.
little side rant here. If you were to join the Sod train again, is there a character that is most intriguing to you now with all these changes and stuff that have been happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would probably go Prop Pally, I think. Like we talked a couple of weeks ago about the tier 1 set. Removes like charges from Holy Shield, makes it scale better. So that kind of thing definitely makes Prot a lot more interesting, I think. And if I did play again, that'd probably be my focus.
Back to home.
Back to my roots.
Back to your roots.
Another really interesting thing was they actually gave players a world buff. Gave warriors a mini world buff. Valor of Azeroth is just like a little bit weaker version of Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. So if you lose your world buffs, this is like your consolation prize. Like at least you get the Valor of Azeroth. It's not gonna be, you're gonna feel bad, but you're not gonna feel as bad. So it's something. And this actually isn't the first time players got a world buff. Do you remember, Hando?
I remember in Naxxramas, I do.
Yeah, so at the end of Classic, there was a bug where a lot of players got the Zandalari, whatever it was called, but the Zandalar buff, world buff, in their spellbook. And they could use it, and anybody near them would get the world buff, and themselves too. It also did the little lightning effect and everything, and it was awesome. It was like that for I don't know how long, an hour maybe before it got fixed, something like that. But you would run around Orgrimmar, and everywhere you looked, people were just spamming this because it had no cooldown, and you could just you could just use it as many times as you wanted, and it just sent lightning on everybody within like 100 yards of you. It was one of the most fun parts of Classic, I think. Just everybody in org spamming this, and I think on one server it like crashed the server because so many people were doing it. But yeah, it was super fun, but it got fixed pretty quickly.
Yeah, my favorite part of that was KT would mind control you, and he can use any of the abilities that your character has. So he would mind control you and then cast the buff and then get those extra stats that you could not remove from him. And we almost wiped because of that. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was a time. It was a time. I was trying to see if I could pull up add a video of the Zandalar buff, but I'll have to
That's
find
all
it
right.
another time. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a lot of lightning. It was a lot of
was a
lightning. So if
crazy
you
amount
guys
of
missed
lightning.
it, it was a ton of lightning. Like people were, I remember having to tell people to stop so that we could continue the raid. Like it was to a point where it was just getting to be a little too much. The oh, now we're getting into the meta. Subtle's watching Subtle.
Subtle watching Subtle. Oh, here it is. All right, this is it. So this is me just running around on my mount, spamming the world buff. And there's a whole group of people outside in the dueling area in Duratar. Everybody's spamming it. There's lightning everywhere. The screen is flashing. Everybody's just raving.
So we were able to do this in the raid also. Like in Naxxramas. So that like we were in Naxxramas when this is happening. It was tripping me out, bro. I couldn't imagine like what it was like in the world, but now I can because I've seen it live. Like so I didn't know this was happening. Yeah, so I didn't know this portion of it was happening. I mean, I obviously knew it was happening because of world chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is pretty cool that I get to see now.
Yeah.
Everyone looks like they're under attack by a hurricane or a bunch of moonfires or something.
Yeah, this was I think this was in the pre-patch for TBC. But yeah, man, this thing spread like wildfire. It just showed up in. I don't know if people even figured out like why it was showing up in certain people's spellbooks because some people didn't have it. It might have just been like all rogues had it or something like that, or all rogues and warriors. I'm not really sure, but
Yeah, I know a warrior at least in our guild had it for sure because he was casting a lot, and I had to ask him to stop so we could continue with the raid. But I see that you were just spamming it away, so maybe it was just the coolest people on the server had it. Maybe that's what it was.
yeah,
Just
it
based on your
may have also been that based on your
yeah,
cool factor
that's right.
for sure. We got to see some new items too, though. Magmadar now has like a set, uh, 2 claws, and then the horn of Magmadar, and it gives you a chance to proc a core hound. I hope this thing is just huge, like actual like MC core hound size.
Well, it's just
Is
Magmadar.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm guessing is the little core hound that like hunter pets are, but man, can you imagine? It's like the full size MC core hound.
I actually hope that it's more like the Grinch size and just does like huge damage. You know what I mean? Like it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little core hound,
Yeah.
like the pet.
Okay. I
But it
could get
just does
behind
big
that too.
damage. So
Yeah.
either way, right? Either it's huge and it does like a very little amount of damage, or it's
Hmm.
super tiny and does a ton of damage.
Yeah. It's
This
gotta be one or
reminds
the
me.
other. It's gotta be on the extreme. It can't just be a hunter pet size one.
Yeah, this reminds me of the Iskander set, which I actually obtained and still have on my warrior in
Ooh.
Classic. I was able to get like the pieces that I needed for from Doom Lord Kazakh and stuff like that
Yeah.
to be able to obtain that. That thing when it actually procs does quite a bit of damage. That little beast that you get or
Oh
whatever it
really?
is. Yeah, but it's not like reliable enough.
Hmm.
But I love items like this that do extra little things that are just don't make any sense.
Yeah, I in vanilla I was always trying to get that Eskandar one, but never ended up finishing it. I did
Yeah,
get the
it's tough.
ZG one though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The claws in ZG that turned you into the tiger.
Was it Theckles?
That was awesome.
Theckles grasp and the other one, right?
Arlocks, yeah.
Yeah, Arlock, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool, especially now. So you can so for those players that, enjoy stuff like this. So actually now you can go with a friend, right, that has this set. They can proc this set and then you can use a potion of illusion while you're near them. And it will turn you into
Oh,
that tiger so that you can
okay.
just run around and do stuff like that.
Big tips.
Big tips, big tips. You can also
Big
do this with like
tips.
tree form, and then you could be a like land seal and stuff for druids. It's pretty great.
Hell yeah.
Everyone
That's
loves the little
awesome.
land seal. It only lasts 2 minutes, but you can have your fun for 2 minutes at least.
Yeah, I was just saying yesterday there should be a druid spec that's completely designed around being just like a walrus on land. Like
Yeah.
that I would only play that. I
Was
wouldn't
that
play
did
like
that
Blood DK or Prop Alley or anything anymore.
come
That'd be
up
it.
during your obstructed UI challenge?
It
You're
did,
like, you know
yeah.
what?
Yeah, yeah.
Now's the time.
It would be so much better if I was a walrus.
I love that in classic as well. In walrus form and in cheetah form, like the travel form, you could proc Wind Fury. It just looked so silly.
Oh, could you?
Yeah, so you could just like bite someone like 3 times super
Yeah.
fast as a walrus. It was pretty goofy.
That's
It didn't do
amazing.
much damage because it's like base, like whatever your base damage is in
Hmm.
human form.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
They give us some info about MC too. So we already knew it was gonna be a 20-player raid now, which you know, some people were mad that 40-player was gone. They actually have like kind of a compromise for some of the raids though, like the world bosses, where you can bring 40 players, but they're tuned for 20. So if you want that like 40-player experience, you can do that, but the bosses will be very, very easy if you bring 40. And
Yep.
who's going to want to bring extra players to take their loot, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Molten Core especially just kind of felt that way to begin with in original, or in the classic rather version. Original was a little different, right? Because stats and stuff. The first time you go in, there was like no spell power gear, right? When we first went in there,
Hmm.
um, like just stats on items were just not fixed. But classic, like this time around, you could have done the whole thing with 20 people easily. It just felt like those extra 20 players were either,
Yeah.
just making it easier or whatever, right? You definitely could have done it. So,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we were doing like binding farms, leading up to AQ, so in BWL gear still, we were bringing, 10 to 15 alts that like weren't even correct specs or had any gear, whatever, and doing it fine. So, like, I remember my rogue that was like not. I think my rogue had okay gear, but it was like hemo spec. It was subtlety spec. I was like top damage, and this Gar run we were doing, because we just had all these alts that were in worse shape than I was.
the the world record or like speed record, I think the way that they do the Molten Core is they send like a small group to go do Lucifron and Magmadar while the rest of the group is like doing all the other bosses. So like you kind of just split the raid up, like 15 people, and then the rest, like the other 25, are doing other stuff anyway. So I think that was pretty interesting.
Did they do that in Classic?
I don't know if they did that in Classic. They definitely did it on private servers.
Hmm.
I can't recall exactly, but I know people are still like doing Classic era things and still,
Hmm.
breaking speed records and stuff for
Yeah.
like Naxxramas, because now they're like full bis. Like
Hmm. Yeah, the
there's
next
any other
Ramus
item to
one,
obtain.
what was it, a few weeks ago, month or so ago? That one finally got beat.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I thought that was actually pretty cool that we were like seeing different routes and stuff being born. And I know that you're now new to the or actually being in the speed uh, category yourself, right? I think it's probably even more exciting now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really speed run. We just try to like clear, the raid day one. But
Well, that's what I meant,
um,
right? Sorry,
yeah, yeah,
the race
yeah,
to
yeah,
first or whatever. Rather, sorry.
yeah. Beyond that, though, we don't like speed run at all.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Um, yeah. One of the things too is it just makes. I think it was Noobs that had the OG like Nax record. It just makes their record way, way more impressive than it already was. That there's people that have been fully decked out trying to beat their record for so long, and they only just were able to do it. And like Noobs got that done, by the end of actual Classic.
Yeah, so I think if those same players were also playing with that gear, you'd probably see some crazy things for sure.
Hmm.
Not to diminish anything from any of the players that are playing now, but it's probably like the talent pool has definitely shrunk because there's just literally less
Yeah.
players playing, right? There's nothing more to
Yeah.
that.
Also, on the topic of MC, there's 11 bosses now instead of 10. We got a new boss in MC. Any thoughts on what this could be?
Yeah, it's the window behind what's his name, Golemag.
Could you imagine? That'd be amazing.
You got to go look in the window. I don't know if you ever got anyone with that in your guild
Oh,
or anyone got others.
absolutely.
That was like
You
the
do. I
OG
mean, you
prank.
did a lot of Ulduar with me. You know how many people I got on the tram to Memoron
Oh yeah,
with
true,
the
true.
old with the old. I can't believe they added an invisible wall here. Like it worked every time.
Works every time like it's charm.
Yeah, yeah. That one was so good. Yeah. I don't know. I was kind of thinking like maybe the 11th boss is Rag's legs. So like,
Oh,
yeah. So you know how he like stands up in Cata? I was
yeah, I do.
thinking, this 11th boss, it could just be his legs. Like
But not the rest of
no
them?
torso. Yeah, it's literally just the legs. So like after you kill Rag, you like swim under lava and you just fight his legs down there. And it's like people were always asking for like an underwater fight. This would be an under lava fight. So like the big raid damage mechanic would be just the fact that everybody's taking lava damage the whole time. And you're kind of on a timer before your healers run out of mana. You have to survive the lava and kill his legs. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Is it what's the lore there? Is the legs like so his torso disappears and then you have to deal with his legs so that those can like basically go back into the lamp as well?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. I haven't really thought
Back
through that much.
back into the elemental plane, dude. You
Yeah.
just gotta take out the legs next, dude.
Yeah, because
Never skip leg day is the achievement for killing him.
exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, after playing Cata, we know there's legs. So like we didn't finish the job by, killing his torso. So
What if the 11th boss is a lava surger that like goes around that little circle at light speed? You remember when people would like do that, like taunt it, so it would go like around the pool around Ragnaros at light speed? Maybe there's something to do with that. I don't know if you did that or not.
ooh, yeah. I like that. I like that.
Like it was just a common like meme, right? Like someone would stand in the middle and taunt him, and then he leaves like the entire raid's damage core, and he's just sitting over there. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah. Is there a room you think this 11th boss could take place in? Or maybe it's a brand new room in MC that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah, I can't think of anywhere specifically. It could be something even up in Domo's platform before he's accessible. Maybe you like he's the final thing that you douse the flame or something, and then it's like Domo pops up or something. I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to guess. So I'm glad that we're actually getting to discover again. Same with the new dungeon we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Go find it.
My prediction, though, is that you will have to swim into lava to get to wherever this boss is. That's my guess.
So like underwater into like a cave sort of situation, like old
Yeah.
Syracuse or whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that. Where, like, you swim under lava, there's a little, tunnel. You swim up through it and you reach some new room or something.
Did you
That's my prediction.
have you ever been in? So most of the caves in the game are copy pasted, right? There's a few caves that have some exceptions. The Naga Cave in Feralis, south of Feathermoon Stronghold, they have like an area where you can swim under the water, and then you reach like more runes. So it's similar to what you're talking about now. I wonder if it's going to be something like that, just like you're saying. I mean, that makes the most sense, right? They could literally just copy paste that thing, but put lava.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm super interested to see what they do with this. And any of this like brand new content stuff they're adding. I'm very intrigued by that. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. There's also going to be revamped tier 1 sets. We talked about those a bit before. That is one of the things I'm like most interested in. These new tier set bonuses are I'm not sure if across the board they're super interesting and awesome, but at least the Pally one I saw was for Prot Pally was really cool. Well,
Yeah, I think we went over a few of them. Yeah, like the mage had a like immunity to damage while it was evocating or whatever. There was some cool things for
mhm.
sure.
And then there's also going to be a scalable difficulty system. You turn up the heat.
Turn it up.
I'm thinking, as far as tuning, that the normal raid is probably going to be like LFR difficulty, where you can do everything wrong and like still kill a boss. That's my guess. And then I don't really know what their like hardest difficulty would be. Do we think this is actually gonna be like a decent challenge at the hardest difficulty?
I'm not entirely sure. Do we have any insight? Because I've looked into it a little bit, but is there any insight of it? Like, do the mechanics get harder, or is it just a health and damage scaling thing?
I think it's just health and damage, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, because it says like the way that it reads is that there's like the mechanic is that there's a more difficult setting. It doesn't say that there's anything extra. Like, when you go to mythic setting in
Mhm.
raids, there's one extra mechanic that
Yeah.
could basically just wipe your raid. So I
Yeah.
wonder if at the highest setting that happens, because that could definitely make it more difficult. But if you just add more
Yeah.
HP and damage, I don't know how much more difficult it'll be. It'll just make the fights longer.
HP is pretty relevant though. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, we saw it a lot in like vanilla raids. It's just you killed bosses in 15 seconds. They didn't even get to do their mechanics.
that's true.
And then for a lot of bosses, uh, doing fewer of the mechanics can be a big deal. Skipping, like on Algalon when you can skip one of the big bangs and things like that, can make things quite a bit easier.
Well, we saw it in Sunken Temple too, right? They literally just couldn't outlast Aranicus until his HP was nerfed
Yeah.
and then nerfed again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was some big percentages.
The tuning is gonna be really interesting. I think they'll go pretty crazy on the high end, like I don't know what it is, like heat 2 or whatever. I can't remember. I think there's 2 levels of heat, but whatever the highest difficulty is, I think they're gonna like err on the side of over tuning it, and then probably it'll be like the Sunken Temple route they went, I think. But I think the regular version is gonna be really, really easy, so that everybody can do it.
Well, I'm gonna hopefully at least do the hardest setting at least once,
Hmm.
so I can be a survivor of the Fire Lord's legs.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh, yeah. Is that the new title?
yeah, survivor of the Fire
Survivor
Lord's
of the
leg day.
Fire Lord's legs.
Yeah, the
Okay,
leg day
I
edition.
like it. I like it.
Yeah, and then I hopefully will get it, and then you won't, so that I have something else to rub in your face again, because I achieved that
Oh,
rightfully.
oh no! Can you really rub it in my face? I don't know. You kind of just transferred, right?
No,
You
no, I
didn't
totally got
actually
it.
get the achievement.
Well, to be
That
fair,
is pretty
I
cool
did.
that you clicked that
Hold
transfer
on,
button and it just randomly gave you the
hold,
achievement. I
hold
guess.
on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. We were Jom Gabar's first guild to kill Ragnaros. When I
Was
was
Jom
when I was
Gabar a
there,
server?
Jom Gabar was the server Season of Mastery.
Oh, okay.
And my character did not die because I played a hunter. I did feign death, but my character did not die in that raid. So
That's basically it, dude.
that's
You
basically it. I mean, I
basically
definitely
got it.
died along the way. I'll be honest, but I did
Yeah,
not
I
die in the
mean,
dungeon.
I don't know if you played like the unofficial hardcore at all, but just because you died doesn't mean you weren't hardcore, you know?
Oh no,
You
I
you,
did,
you
and I
could
tried to get
appeal
an
that. You could
appeal.
appeal that.
No, I did, and I tried to appeal it, and they were like, "No, this isn't show enough." It
Oh yeah,
was
that
it was
was your
pretty sad.
warrior, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it
the
was pretty sad. I was
DC.
level
Yeah.
38, DC'd, and I killed the mob that killed me. Like, we must have had like a
Man.
tie or something. I was like, come on.
It sucks too because that's like right when Warrior's about to start getting really fun. You're about to get like Mortal Strike and things like that.
Oh, I already felt like I was blasting off because it feels like you played like super safe, right? Obviously.
Oh,
Um, so it feels like the 30-minute mark for like retaliation comes up quite often. So it felt like I was using retaliation more than I'd ever used it before. And it's just like you totally pop off when that ability's up.
yeah. Yeah, retail is kind of nuts.
It's a goodie.
Pretty good ability.
Yeah, you'd hope so in a 30-minute cooldown, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So there's also going to be a new daily currency. Once per day per boss in high level dungeons, they'll drop the Tarnished Undermine Real. Not real. Real, they specifically
Real.
said. Real, yeah. Um, but this is kind of interesting. Like you can't just run the same dungeon over and over again to farm it. It incentivizes you to run every single dungeon every day, which I think a lot of people probably won't like that they have to run. You know, they're incentivized to run everything every single day. But yeah, when you get this currency, you can purchase materials, items, and more. They say. So we'll see what kind of stuff you can get from this. But
Hopefully, it's not a big blunder like the what's it called? The reputation at Exalted for the incursions. It was just yikes. Those items were just not it.
yeah, I skipped that phase, but I definitely heard lots of complaints about it.
Yeah,
But
the rewards up to like honored and stuff were great, right? And then revered and like exalted just were not worth it at all. It was
mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, I imagine this is pretty quickly just gonna become people do the same dungeons to get this, and they just like don't really care to maximize their currency every day. But yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I wonder how many. It's not something that we have to count right this second, but I wonder how many bosses there
I'm
are that
counting
are
it right now.
55 plus. You're counting it right now?
Right
I
now.
wonder how many 55 plus bosses there is in Classic, right? Because
How
there's
many are
quite a
there in
few
BRD? Like,
that are 55 plus. Probably,
yeah.
I mean, the 7, right? Counts as 7 technically.
Are they 55 plus though? I can't
I
remember.
think they're
Because some
57.
bosses in they also like retuned the levels, so like my memory is super hazy on this because they changed like amp to 55 at some point, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Merc says there's 100.
Oh, wow. He counted them?
He counted them. Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
There probably are a ton though. I think at least half the bosses in BRD are probably 55 plus.
Yeah, Doomerel is 57. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, and the rest of them are low 56 and 55. So that would be interesting if they all counted, right? Because people would be doing BRD for sure,
Oh,
at least.
no way they count.
Dude, you got to count the 7, dude.
No
Get him in there,
chance.
dude. Get him in
No
there.
chance. So they also told us the raid release would be staggered. People weren't too pumped about this. Cause it's kind of cool when the race includes like the leveling process. I think because it just makes the hype kind of go through the roof, I think, and you do a little bit different strats and you aren't full prebase and all that stuff, but I don't know. I think it'll work out all right. There is like the harder mode difficulty. All the top level groups are definitely gonna be trying to do whatever the highest difficulty is as soon as it releases.
I like it this way. It creates more hype in a different sense, right? Where it's staggered. So instead of all being front loaded, you get that like hype of a launch day, and then you get the hype of a raid day,
That
essentially, right?
slow burn hype.
It's a slow burn. That's what they want,
So
right? To keep us interested for at least an extra
exactly.
month, right?
Yeah, so we already mentioned July 11th is when this is going to launch, but the world bosses are going to come out July 18th at 1 p.m. So 1 week till world bosses come out. And like we said before, too, world bosses are going to be instanced. So everybody's going to be able to do them. You're not going to have to like compete for them. They are 40, up to 40 players, but tuned for 20. And they're also going to be bi weekly. Ani and World Bosses, you'll be able to do twice a week. It's going to reset Tuesdays and Saturdays. MC, they originally had said they were going to make bi-weekly too, but they walked that one back. MCs is just going to be once a week, which I think is good. Like when I was playing in phase 1, it was kind of overwhelming. Just rating, you know, on one character twice a week. And it was even more than twice a week then.
It will
Like sometimes
sometimes,
it
right?
was 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so that I didn't like as much. Like when ZG has like a 3-day lockout, and it's just like there's obviously like a cadence to it, right? But
Mhm.
this, they said Saturday and Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
This makes a little bit more sense
it's
this
way
way.
better. Way
Yeah,
easier to plan around, yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because like, man, when you were trying to like schedule stuff and like Wrath with people who played SoD, it was such a mess. Like, I mean, you remember we were doing it during the research project, um, and you would try to see if somebody's available, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I might raid that day. I'm not sure." And SoD, because like their raid days like change every week
Yep.
because of the 3-day lockout. But
Well, I'm
yeah,
very aware. I was making what,
this
8
will.
groups every reset, so I'm
Yeah.
very aware of what was going on.
Yeah, it was a mess. And then we have MC coming out the 25th at 1 p.m. Pacific.
With Oni,
So
right?
with Oni, yeah, with
Yeah,
Oni.
with the Oni. I'm looking forward to this. It lines up with some other dates we're going to reveal here, which
It
will
does.
potentially put a
That is
damper
kind of
on
the
it.
weird part. We'll talk about it soon. There's also going to be a surprise new dungeon. If you don't want to know anything at all about this, we are going to talk a little bit about it. So this would be your cue to fast forward or, you know, turn off the stream right now, whatever.
I'm
Mute it
sure
for a
our
little bit.
I'm sure our editor will have timestamps to skip it. Editor.
There will be some timestamps, yeah. So there was some data mining on this new dungeon. They found a bunch of new bosses. You saw some of this teased in the trailer as well. People noticed Grom Hellscream was shown, and in the dungeon we can see there's a few different bosses: Grimroot, Diatherus the Seeker, Destructor's Wraith, uh, Zilbegob.
Try to say that 5 times
Yeah,
fast.
Zilbegob. I love this guy already. Pyranus. I'm gonna call him that instead of like Pyranus. I'm not sure which one it is, but I like Pyranus with like the
Younger
emphasized
brother of
anus.
Pyrenor.
Yeah.
Good friend of yours. Master Pyrenor.
Yes, Master Pyrenor. All prop allies know who this guy is. Oh, horde ones, I guess. He's the guy that has taken more gold from you than anybody else in the game for your respecs. Our friend and Orgrimmar, Master Pyrenor. And then the final boss, Hellscream's Phantom. So this is kind of cool. This dungeon is gonna be called Demon Fall Barrow, it looks like. And it's in Demon Fall Canyon. I'm not sure which one's actually the name. I think it's Demon Fall Barrow, but in any case, Demon Fall is the new dungeon.
Or maybe the canyon is one of the areas, and then when you go into the hovel there, it's the Barrow. You know what I mean? Maybe it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just called Demon Fall, like you said.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is just gonna be pretty similar to the area where we did like that Warlock and Pally quest, you remember? For
Yep.
yeah, the
It's the
like the
southeast of
demon
Ashenvale.
area in Ashenvale. Where
Yeah, they
we
needed more stuff in Ashenvale, so this was a good idea, right? They've got the incursion up there. They've got the world event there.
mhm.
They just, it's right next to Orgrimmar.
The green dragon.
Yeah, the Green Dragon. It's right there next to Orgrimmar. So why wouldn't they give this to the players, right?
It's a good spot. It's a good spot.
So
but
everyone that picked
it looks
Alliance.
cool. I mean, when I originally got interested in SoD when they announced it, this was the kind of stuff I was like looking for. Like, this is awesome. Like a whole brand new dungeon that we've never seen before. You've got some cool stuff like Grom Hellscream, you know, one of the most badass characters that's ever been in the game. I'm sure everybody remembers from Warcraft 3, you know, the cutscene where he dies and it is epic. Yeah, Grom was a real one.
Did we show the axe? Not the Gorehowl, but did we show the axe that they spoke about before, where it was like it was in the War of the Ancients or whatever. I can't remember who wielded it, but it was like the one that was like made from Staghelm or
Yeah.
something like that. I can't remember, but
I
we
know
did.
who
I
you're
think
talking
we.
about. I can't remember the guy's name, the orc.
But did we cover that? I think we covered that one week, right?
We
When they
probably
teased
did,
it.
yeah.
I wonder if that comes from here, but maybe not.
It could, yeah. We do have this
Duration
epic,
one
though.
hour.
Yeah, we have this duration 1 hour Demonfall Canyon required sword. 4.1 speed.
That's a slowy.
Yeah.
That's the slowest in the game, technically,
Reduce
right?
enemy strength and stam by 50, by strength by 125, stam by 50 for 2 minutes. When struck in combat, has a chance of causing the attacker to flee in terror for 2 seconds. 2% proc. Looks pretty cool too. As far as I can tell, it's a new model. I don't think I've seen this one before.
Do you think this ties in with anything? Like Etiesh had the limited time sword that you could use and just be like super OP against that one demon.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this one's pretty interesting because it's a 70 DPS weapon. So like the DPS isn't like super crazy, but it does do shadow damage, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah,
So,
I remember in other iterations too, like druids absolutely wanted that, like in private servers and stuff like that. Like that was
mhm,
so OP. So if this was something that wasn't a sword, like a two-handed mace, that would have been like
mhm.
incredible for them.
Yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see
this
how it
this
goes.
looks awesome though. Like this kind of thing, like actually gets me like interested in SOD again. Um,
Well, we've got some time on our hand with all these raids that we're doing during Cataclysm, and then
mhm.
other stuff coming up. So yeah, who doesn't have a little time for SOD, right?
I might have to dust it off again. I don't know. I don't know. It's intriguing for
Don't get the
sure.
FOMO. Don't get the FOMO. Get in here. Get in here while it's hot.
Wait, wouldn't
While it's
that mean
heating
I
up.
am getting the FOMO if if I do come back to SOD?
Well,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Well, don't. I'm saying don't miss out.
okay, don't miss out.
Yeah, don't miss out. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, this looks really cool though. I love that they're adding like an entire new dungeon, and the theme seems pretty cool. But we're gonna move on to the War Within now. Got a little bit of War Within news, and just a little bit cat news, and then we'll be wrapping it up. But the War Within, they data mined a splash screen, like an ad for when certain things are gonna release. And a date on there says that one of the events is going to be available July 30th. So Wowhead was saying that uh, the pre-patch would have to begin at least a week before that because this event isn't going to happen like day one of the pre-patch. So that would put the release at probably like July 23rd, which is kind of interesting because that's 2 days before MC and Ani release in SOD. So there's some pretty big overlap there, like pre-patch releasing 2 days before the first raid is even out for SoD Phase 4. So I'm not sure how that will probably have some effect, I would think, on SoD numbers, but at the same time, I don't know how much there is to do in pre-patch.
Or War Within numbers, right? they've almost like it's almost like they've got too much to do now, right? Where we said previously that it was
There's a
like prime
lot,
time for a
yeah.
WoW player, but now it's just like
Yeah.
overlapping a little bit. But I
I
think once the overlap like delays here, like it's gonna go back to normal a little bit, right? Normal, you know what I
mhm.
mean?
Yeah, I think this might be one of the biggest overlaps that we've had so far.
Yeah, this is a
Like
big one.
the closest one before was like Mop Remix starting a few days
And
before
Cata,
Cata, like
yeah.
during Cata pre-patch. But I mean a major retail expansion pre-patch at the same time, probably the biggest phase for SoD is coming out. Well, I mean phase one in retrospect was the biggest, but um, you know, probably most content in phase four compared to other phases.
Yeah, this has got to live up to all the hype, right? Because this is it.
Yeah, this is kind
This
of
is
SOD's last chance, I think, is because they've lost a crazy amount of players to Cata and just general, um, people not
boredom,
being interested in SOD at all, and maybe not
right?
even playing another version of WoW. Uh, there's been the fake fresh kind of thing too, where people have been playing, vanilla WoW on a low pop server to try to get a fresh experience.
Hey, that's the resurgence, okay? That's their resurgence.
Hmm. Hey, yeah, we did it, and
We did it
it
first,
was
dude.
super fun. It was super fun.
Yeah, I think it was actually a little different than that too, right? Like the fact that we were guild found too
Hmm.
was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So with this War Within news here, are you interested in playing the pre-patch? I know you are definitely leaning towards playing retail,
Hmm.
the retail version of the game. Is this something that intrigues you and you might get into just to catch some characters up or check it out or
Yeah. So a lot of the classes are getting like some revamps and stuff. And I definitely want to be like pretty familiar with how all the tanks play, like going into War Within. So I'm not just like a total noob. So I definitely want to play quite a bit in pre-patch. I do need to play some like Mop Remix too, because I didn't really get to touch that, and there's a bunch of stuff in that I would like to get. Plus, it's a really good way to level characters for War Within. So I'm probably just gonna level like one of every class through Remix, at least the ones I don't already have like a max level of. So I'll check out pre-patch a bit, but I think I'm gonna be doing mostly remix during the pre-patch just to get all caught up on that stuff.
gotcha. With the information that you do have, is there a tank that you're leaning towards playing more than others?
Yeah, I mean Brewmaster is just so fun, and it got a huge revamp, so I'm really excited to check that out. I've heard some really good stuff about it. And it was already like my favorite. So we're definitely diving into the brew. I heard Blood DK is looking pretty awesome too, so I'll be definitely checking that out. Prop Valley, I haven't been hearing great things about. I I do want to check out Prop Valley, see how I like it, but overall I haven't been hearing great things. So we'll see what happens there. And then Prot were always a great time. We're gonna check that out too. So those are gonna be my four. I really don't like Guardian Druid too much, and I wasn't like in Vengeance DH either. So I think I'm staying away from those unless they become like incredibly OP and you kind of just have to play them to like push an M plus and stuff. Because that is gonna be basically my main goal is just doing a lot of M plus, seeing how high I can get my rating and stuff. So
Yeah, fair enough. Just follow the meta, yeah. I'm interested to see, if we get the classic Mista Pandaria. I'm interested to see your story arc switching into a brewmaster potentially too, because I know I don't think you got to play it the first time around really that much,
no.
or maybe
Yeah,
even
I was
quit for
just a
mop. I couldn't
rogue.
remember.
I was a
Oh, okay.
rogue last time I played mop. And like I leveled a brew to like 70 or something, but that was about it. I had a good time on it. I just didn't finish it.
Oh, Rogue was peak degen with snapshotting also too in Mista Pandaria. I don't know if you remember.
So at that point I was doing like a 1 day a week heroic raid 10-man with some friends. So I wasn't like super in tune with all like the tech and stuff.
Okay, okay.
Um yeah, we were pretty casual. We killed most of I think the Throne of Thunder like heroic bosses, but we were pretty casual, just doing 1 day a week. So we did what we could, but yeah, I'm excited for this go because all the things I've heard about mop tanks sounds amazing. Just getting like 1 million attack power from Vengeance and being 2 to 3 times the DPS of the next highest DPS and doing crazy healing. It is just a god class. It sounds like, well,
Yeah.
a god role, I guess. So
God roll.
god role, yeah. So mop tank, lock in your spot now because it seems like everybody's just gonna want to be a tank and mop. So whatever you can do to, make sure you got that spot locked in. Because
So it goes from Prot Paladins and Wrath of the Lich King being the gods to Blood DKs to just all the tanks. Just give it
yeah,
all the
pretty
love.
much. Yeah, yeah. It looks like tanks in general are gonna be good, but I've heard like Blood DK, Prop High Brew probably best. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, poor Ferals. Jack of all trades, master of none. Symbiosis though.
Mhm.
OP.
So there was also some huge M plus news this week. They're doing a major revamp on the affixes. So sanguine, bolstering, raging, bursting. These were affixes a lot of people didn't like, and they're removing them. The every like M plus content creator I follow, they were just constantly asking for these to be removed, and Blizzard listened, which was kind of crazy because kind of the thing we're used to, I think, from past retail expansions is the players are all like, "Hey, we really hate how like this thing works," and then Blizzard's like, "Yeah, okay, but we're not gonna change it."
But this
And
is what we
then
did.
like a year into the expansion, they're like, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna do the thing you guys asked for a year ago." And
But
it's
make
like,
it seem like it was their
why?
idea.
Yeah, why couldn't we just do this to begin with? So, like we it's been interesting to like watch because with the whole like World Soul saga, they released the info for the next 3 expansions. We got Metzen back. It seems like things are kind of changing. They're changing the way they're operating, and it like for the better. And it wasn't like, I guess, real to me until I saw like these kinds of changes. Because it's like, all right, things look good right now, but are they just gonna do the same things they have always done, where they don't really listen to the feedback and then they act on it way, way, way too late? But seeing this change before the game's even released, it's given me a lot of hope. It is getting me so excited for M plus. Because that when I played retail, that was my favorite part of the game. And yeah, I'm gonna be diving in hard on M plus. So if people are interested in that,
Yeah, Mythic
check it
pluses
out.
are a lot
We'll
of
be
fun.
doing it.
A lot of fun for sure. I think it's hopefully. I mean, the feedback situation is good, right? Hopefully, they just continue the trend, right? Because that's the big thing. Not just like, hey, we're doing it now to get people excited, because I feel like that happens a lot. So hopefully, they just continue the trend and they make those big changes when they need to, when the player base is asking for it, so that they can keep the players that want to play the game and want to see it better, rather than the people that are just going to play it for 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Adis asked if I'm trying to get the title. That would require a ton of time commitment. It would. I'm gonna try to push my rating as high as I can. That would be awesome if I could get a title, obviously, but it's a ridiculous amount of work, and we'll see. I would love to be able to get a title, but being realistic, you know, I don't know if it'll be a possibility, but we're gonna try. Also, they're adding in some other new affixes. They're doing this like Xalatath bargain system. So basically, at different levels of M plus, you're gonna run into kind of these kiss curse mechanics, where, for example, like non-boss enemies become frenzied at 30% health remaining, increasing their haste by 40%, but increasing their damage taken by 20%. And just kind of like as you go through the M plus system, these are going to change a little bit. So these are at the early stages, and then that's at +2 or higher. And then at +7, you're going to lose 15 seconds every time somebody dies instead of 5. And then at +12, uh, the bargain affixes are going to get replaced, which makes all the creatures in the dungeon do 20% more damage and have 20% more health. So this is pretty interesting because there's going to be like really, really different tuning for the earlier M pluses and like the later ones, the higher keys and the lower keys. So this is something I've seen a lot of M plus content creators pretty high on, just because it makes it easier for Blizzard to like tune the higher end of M plus without it affecting like the lower end as much. So I think this will also be a pretty good system. But man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I can't wait to like dive into this. I really enjoyed it when I was checking it out in Dragonflight, and it's like peak WoW for me, I think. Just like hard 5-man content. It's
Yeah, it's
like,
a lot of fun. A lot easier to get that many players into something too, right?
yeah, exactly. It's easier to put together. You also don't have to like necessarily like schedule it. Like for a raid, it's like, okay, you know, you got 25 people, you gotta schedule it for 6 p.m. You have to have a scheduled time where everybody can be there. For like M plus, you can just kind of do it whenever you want. It's like you just have like a pool of friends that are in M plus, and whenever you're on, you just like, you know, ask people from your friend group if they want in. You can pug to fill some of the slots, and you're good to go. So I really do like the flexibility of it too, being able to kind of just do it whenever you want.
If you don't have any friends, just make sure you have a high rate or IO score, and then you're good to go.
Exactly. And hang around in the stream, because I'm gonna be taking people from chat. We're gonna get some viewer M pluses going. We're gonna be doing all sorts of stuff. It's gonna be a good time.
Oh, I'm gonna need to get in on that. Get a little
Yeah,
carry going.
yeah. We'll have some runs for all skill levels,
Oh
so
no, I
that.
meant I was gonna carry you. Let's
Oh,
not get
okay,
let's
okay.
not get carried away here.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, for those fake survivor of the Firelord taps, yeah, I'll have a separate
I'll
run for
s-
them.
I'll see myself out. I'll see
And
myself out.
uh yeah, I mean, you it sounded like you're pretty interested in this too, Hando, right?
Yeah,
Getting
I
into
mean,
the M
if
pluses.
nothing else, I'll definitely be watching streams of people doing it because I absolutely love Mythic Pluses. As soon as challenge modes came out in Mists of Pandaria, I've been a huge fan ever since, and they were like basically the birth of Mythic Plus. So I'm absolutely ecstatic for these changes, and I love to see that the way that they've done a lot of these changes with seasonal things and stuff like that. So I think it's been really good. I think they're always pushing this system at least in the right direction.
Yeah,
So that's
should be a good time. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. if they ever stop doing classic, I think this is like my entire focus is just doing M plus. But I'm definitely gonna be diving in as much as I can while also playing Cata.
I look forward. I will look forward to potentially running some with you, and I know the viewers do too.
There will be tons of runs. It's gonna be a good time. Let's wrap up with some Cata stuff. We just have some really minor stuff. Not too much. Cata, I mean, phase one's sort of in maintenance mode. We will have ZA and ZG coming probably pretty soon. I would expect the ZA ZG PTR to go up any day now, because typically PTRs are like 4 to 6 weeks. I think the ZA ZG one would probably be a 4 week PTR. And based on the timeline, it seems like it'll probably come out early August, before or within launches. So I would expect to see that ZA ZG PTR any day now. But until then, yeah, phase one, kind of maintenance mode at the moment. But we did have a change recently where Shaman Fire Elementals will prefer to go to the target the Shaman's Flame Shock is on, which is a nice change because there's been some times like things like Omnitron where you don't want your Fire Elemental attacking Magmatron while he's got a shield up, for example. So just being able to kind of, dictate a little bit where your fire elemental goes was definitely a solid change. But I did hear from some of the shamans I was running with that it wasn't really working. So I don't know. Have you
Yeah,
had any experience with this?
yeah, we were doing Omnitron, and we literally had issues because we had like 3 fire elementals hitting the thing that they were not supposed to hit, and this was
uh,
after the hot fix.
yeah.
I'm a little concerned because the way that the wording is too, that it wasn't clear enough, at least to me. It says that the flame shock is active on. You can have flame shock active on more than one target,
Yeah.
and then it says every several seconds. Like they could have made that a little bit more clear.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. It should definitely be on the most recent flame shock. Potentially, I think would probably make the most sense.
Hmm.
And then the check was like every 2 seconds or whatever, right? Instead of just
Yeah.
saying every several seconds. I think they could have been just a little bit more clear, but it just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's working as intended. Either that, or it's like working as intended, but because flame shock lasts so long on certain targets, that it just doesn't really work
Hmm.
the way we want it. It's just working as they intended it to work.
There was also, I don't know if you saw the two-piece elemental tier 4 thing.
Yeah, I did.
The bug, yeah. So it was given way more spell bearer than it should. Apparently, it's a OG Cata bug too that they said wasn't discovered until WAD originally. So kind of interesting. We're definitely speedrunning everything in Classic, figuring out these bugs way quicker.
Yeah,
But yeah, they ended up just disabling. Basically, the two piece was like giving way more spell bearer than it should, and it would have caused the two piece to just be BIS like the rest of the game, basically. So obviously needed to change. But they just completely removed the bonus from the game until they were able to hotfix it. So that is or I think it was going to require like a realm restart. So that was why they removed it. But yeah, no more OP shaman bonuses, unfortunately.
that's all right. That's all right.
And the final thing we're going to look at just real quick is the phase 1 DPS rankings. This is for week 4. So this is for 95th percentile, so keep that in mind. This is for the top of the top. Fire Mage at number 1. A big part of this though is because when a Fire Mage gets lucky, they do insane damage. So the damage you see on the top end is going to be quite a bit different than the average damage that they're doing. But unsurprisingly, I think for a lot of people. You got like Unholy DK, Elemental Shaman, Survival Hunter, Arms Warrior, Shadow Priest, all classes, going into Cata. People were saying these would be some of the top damage, and that seems to have been true.
Yeah, I've been pumping with my Frost Mage.
That's for overall damage too. Yeah, on your Frost Mage.
Yeah, I've been pumping, dude.
Raking in the hundreds.
Yeah, raking in the hundreds, dude. Easy peasy.
Yeah, Frost Mage, for anybody listening and not watching, Frost Mage very, very clearly at the bottom, actually about half of what Fire Mage is. It is so far beneath everything else, it's actually kind of insane. Rogue performing really, really well on boss damage. Not as much for overall damage, but for boss damage, you got both Assassination and Subtlety performing very well. And combat a bit behind those two, but I mean 2 rogue specs in the top 6.
Yeah, the
Pretty,
Warlocks are like that too, right?
yeah. And right below rogue for boss damage specifically, you got Demon Lock and Destro Lock. So good time to be those classes for sure. And Blood DK is actually doing some pretty crazy damage.
I mean,
there's some Blood DK parses coming in lately where they're actually doing like number 1 overall damage for bosses.
Big pumpers.
But
brings
yeah,
back the memories where you were beaten by that like Ret Paladin in BT, I think it was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in TBC Classic there was a Ret Pally who had like the minimum, talents to be counted as a prop pally. But he had full PvP gear, used a 2-hander, got 5 bloodlusts, and tanked all the bosses, crit immunity through resilience. He smashed every single prop pally out of the water. For damage on everything, because he was essentially a Ret Pally, and everybody else was, one-hand shield and stuff, like playing a prop pally. So he was like triple the damage of every other, prop pally.
It was big pump.
And killed everybody's all-star, but RIP.
The cool thing too, like if you look at the 95th percentile by boss, there really isn't like a huge discrepancy within the classes outside of the Unholy DKs and the Fire Mages. Like the charts are pretty close together. Like you really can pick anything you want outside of Frost Mage and enjoy your time and still do pretty well as long as you're good at the class, right?
One of the things that's insane about the Unholy DK is that they're right up there for number 1 damage, like right next to a Fire Mage that gets really lucky. And they also bring like one of the best raid defensives, AMZ.
Yeah.
So that is a crazy combo, bringing that much boss dam, but also bringing in an insane raid defensive. So Unholy DK stonks are just through the roof right now.
Just DK all around. And then if you want to play Frost DK and kite the little worms with chill planes or whatever in magma, you're the guy.
You're the guy.
You're the guy.
Yeah, Unholy DK though, looking like a real safe pick if you want to play a DPS. But if you already have a DK, I don't know why you'd play anything but Blood. Just personally.
Wow. Let the DPS live a little, dude.
You got anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap this thing up.
I think that's it for me. I'm glad that we got through that. There wasn't a lot of Cataclysm news, and what there was, part of it wasn't actually fixed, which was the Flame Shock thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good to get hyped for SoD. Good to get hyped for the pre-patch for War Within. I think there's going to be a lot for us to do these coming weeks. So I'm excited to go on that journey with everyone that's willing to go on it with us.
Maybe even the people unwilling. You're just going to drag them along.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of my thing. That's kind of why I created my guild. Just drag as many people as I can with me.
Just force everybody.
That's right. You're gonna like it, whether you like it or not.
Yep. Skull is in chat is gonna be dragged along by Hando.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will probably be back next week. But anytime there's like a slow news cycle, we'll probably just take a week off and let the news build up a little bit and come back with a little more the next week. But I mean, we're not too far away from a lot of stuff kicking off with SoD Phase 4. We're within pre-patch. Only less than 2 months away from War Within actual launch as well. But we will see you guys either next week or the week after. But thanks for watching. See you later.
Later, all.